talk to. But
You need contact
yeah, I
information?
need phone numbers, and they said that they can't do that until you say okay.
Can I work on that tomorrow?
Yeah, if you can get that to me, I'll put my email address on there, and you can email me those numbers. That'd be great.
Well, he's leaving town.
Where?
Here's Buffalo.
Yeah.
Here's Rochester.
Yeah.
Right there. It's Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
I've got 7 o'clock. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
5 miles away.
Pledge allegiance to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'd like to say a few words about the past few weeks. As you can see, our POA board president, Charlie Beard, is not here. For those of you who aren't aware, Charlie passed away on October 20th. He was a devoted volunteer in this community and worked tirelessly to help make this such a wonderful place to live. He was helpful, friendly, extremely hardworking, and the leader of this board. He loved this community, and his loss will impact us all in ways we don't even yet know. Over the past few weeks, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with Charlie's family. His loss is devastating to them all, but their strength and perseverance and the way they handled all of the difficult days of the past few weeks is an example to us all. His love and guidance over his many years built that family to the point where they could carry on without him. I feel like he's tried to do the same thing for this community. His contributions were countless, and his impact was vast. We will miss our friend terribly, but we must now carry on the same passion that he did and all that we do to make this community the very best it can be. It will take us all working together to fill the hole that's been left behind by the loss of our dear friend. On behalf of the Beard family, I would like to send a sincere thanks to April Land, Deborah Napier, Ken Roselle, Rita Goen, Cindy Huddleston, and the other members of this community and the committees who helped the family by providing comfort, support, prayers, and food to them during the past weeks. This community came together to help the family through this difficult time and left a great impression on them and their friends and showed why Charlie loved this community so much. I ask you all to help me and the rest of this board in the months ahead to continue the work begun under his watch. I can promise that we will do our best to carry out in his honor. The first step in that process was to fill the POA board president position as required by Robert's Rules of Order. I have taken on that role as previous vice president. The vacated vice president role has been filled by Paul Forbes. Thank you, Paul, for volunteering to fill that role. The board will work through the rest of this term, and once the new board is in place in 2019, those in all officer roles will be voted on by the next seated board. I also just want to take a moment to thank all the veterans in this community, of which there are many. Thank you very much for your service on behalf of myself, this community, and the entire country. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to begin the meeting. Today is November 12th. This is the November 12th HLPOA board meeting. I like to try to get in the habit of making that announcement before we start for the benefit of those watching on YouTube, either now or after it's posted in a future date. So, announcements. Clear Creek Conservancy, Dwayne Kelly. Dwayne is not here. Floyd Township Fire Department. Roger is not here, but he gave me the report to read on his behalf. He's teaching a class at the firehouse tonight, so to date there are 214 runs this year. Several new members are up for vote tomorrow night at the department meeting. The new tanker should be here this week. I think I heard that. I think that's a standard line in there. Some fire department members are spending nights at the firehouse to give at-station coverage. Around the clock activity will be monitored to determine whether it's a worthwhile thing or not. So that's the report for Floyd Township Fire. Neighborhood Watch. April is not here either, but she also gave me a report. So the Neighborhood Watch would like to report that all is quiet, and they've discussed purchasing security cameras for areas around the lake with the monies raised from the fundraisers of 2018. The chili cook-off will be rescheduled until after the holidays at some point, so watch for details about that and highlights and the email blast and Facebook and all those cool things. All interested, call April at 765-386-7447. The next meeting is November 21st at 7 p.m. here in the clubhouse, and that's the last meeting until March of 2019. HLCS, Harold.
Harold Pato, 189 Mill Springs. The first item I want to discuss is the 2019 Heritage Lake Phone Directory. We've got the Yellow Page advertisement started, and we are getting some response to that. Anybody you might know that has a business that is interested in advertising, would you have them contact me? That is always a need for us, because that supports our existence with the Highlights newsletter, in case we didn't know that. The phone directory is the big contributor. We are also considering, and I haven't made a total decision, I haven't even talked to Tom on it, about adding a blue box that was suggested in Lincoln Park entrance. So someone has it up on the north end, and we out in the marina, and then at the clubhouse. So it'll be a little better coverage, people won't have to travel that far. And we'll make that decision the first of next year. That's mainly what I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. Halnack, Jan Salee. Jan here?
If not, I got some information. On December 8th is the Santa Claus, Meet Santa Claus event for children. They are currently working on the time, so that'll be on Facebook updated. And the next meeting is in January. It's the second Monday of January. I believe it's January 14th.
Thank you, Grant. POA Security, Brian Helmer.
We've had 3 more burglaries since the last meeting, and they're targeting the new homes that are unoccupied. So if you guys can keep an extra eye out on the new buildings being built, that's what the thieves are targeting around here. That's pretty much the only problem other than speeders and minor stuff. Just the burglars.
Thank you. Presentation of agenda, October 8th board meeting. Everybody see that? Any corrections or edit requests? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. October 29th operations meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Make the motion to accept as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Treasurer's report, Jim Johnson?
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Our income for October was $68,029. Our expenses were $52,822, and the net income was $15,207. Our year-to-date income is $1,248,692. $767,000, with total expenses of $1,101,664. Our net income balance as of now, October, was $147,103. Short-term cash positions, $432,913. And our investments, they're primarily made up of CDs and money markets. And our checking account is $688,230. Respectfully submit.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? Okay. Board committee reports, A&E, Ben Fuchs.
In Fuchs 77 Gettysburg, September, we had 14 permits, 17 projects, 4 houses, 1,300, can't read it. 1,738 square feet, 1,718 square feet, 2,000 square feet, and 1,395 square feet. 2 garages, 1 addition, 2 porches, 2 docks, 2 decks, and 4 fences. In October, we had 7 permits, 2 houses, 1,467 and 2,319 square feet, 1 addition, 3 docks, 1 deck.
Thank you, Ben. Cleanup committee. Oh, I'm sorry, campground. Denise Hawkins.
I don't think Denise is here, it's closed, there's nothing to report.
Okay, thank you.
Next
Pam.
meeting will be in, I think, April 1st.
Thank you. Cleanup committee, I've got their report. They won't be meeting until spring now. At their last meeting, the officers were voted on. The chairperson is going to be, continuing to be Jeff Blades. Vice chairperson, Mr. Tom Novak. Secretary, Penny Stewart, and treasurer will be Don Williams. And if Don is unavailable, they weren't sure at the time the vote was taken. Kurt Stewart will serve as treasurer in the event that Don can't. That's a cleanup report. Government. No chair, no report. Lake Committee, Kent Hoops. I think they've broken for the season. Clean Water, Phil McKinley. Phil.
Phil McKinley, 330 Patriots Landing. We are also, as a subcommittee of the Lake Committee, sort of on a hiatus until next March. We have a few things going on in terms of long-range planning of what kind of fish studies we may want to do next year as a baseline after this year when the lake was lowered as much as it was. And in the near future, although it's not directly related to that, I think it's really under the Big Walnut Watershed Grant, Tom Armtwisted me to do some windshield surveys of the upstream areas feeding into the lake, and we'll be doing those this month.
Thank you, Phil. Siltation, Dwayne is still not here. HLEPT, Mary Ann Novak.
Mary Ann Novak, 25 Mill Springs. We had a meeting last week, and the big important thing is, and I'm going to start sending this around, Darcy, maybe could you send it up in the road front? Thank you. We're having a blood drive again in January the 9th, which is a Wednesday from 2 to 7, and Darcy's sending a sheet around. You can sign up, or you can call me, or you can go on the Red Cross blood drive, but we really, really need blood with everything that's happened this year with all the emergencies and disasters throughout the United States. There's a very, very good, big need, so please sign up for that. The second item is that we had the HLEPT team had 3 weather radios donated to the from the Putnam County Emergency Operations Center, and they were given to Ken. They're going to be distributed at the marina, the clubhouse, and the campgrounds. If you haven't already done so, please change your the smoke alarm batteries, because we changed our clocks recently. Red Cross is still installing them. in your home, and my husband Tom and I do that, so please give us a call. There are forms in the office that you can fill out, or look us up in the directory and give us a call. We'll be happy to come out and do that for you. And then the last thing is that the HLEPT team is taking a break December and January, and we will reconvene in February when we are going to have another deployment type thing, a refresher course in the room behind us here, the communications center, in case there was another emergency. So, and we're always looking for members, so thanks.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Managers report, Ken Roselle.
All right, Harold had kind of touched briefly on the phone book. One of the things I wanted to add to that if you have a different phone number or have not registered with the office or have moved to another address at Heritage Lake, please make contact with our office. We're not aware of any changes unless you inform us of those. Next, the dredging at Jefferson Pond is underway from October 25th to November 9th. Last Friday, there's been 52 loads removed from the pond. Shannon has reported he's got a little bit more to do on that and should be finishing up soon. Our insurance renewal for 2019 is currently in place. I'm reviewing insurance quotes to receive the best price that has the best coverage for Heritage Lake. I'm meeting with the gentleman in the morning. I would like to also thank Jeff Brooks for his assistance with his help in monitoring the illegal dumping at the burn site. One individual he caught was crossing over the railroad tracks and just had a gut feeling that he was heading to Heritage Lake, and he followed him to our burn site. And he made him leave, but unfortunately he came back later on that night and dumped it anyway. So that's why we need some sort of monitoring gate that would help that situation. I have purchased a very high-powered camera, and I would also like to thank Fire Chief Brian Irvin for recently installing our high-powered camera that the POA purchased that also includes night vision. This was mounted on their tower pointing to the burn area and is recording activity on their system. The campground water lines, the bathhouse winterizing has been completed and closed for the season. The winter storage fees for the camper still on site will be mailed out soon. I would like to also thank all the veterans and their spouses for attending the free breakfast this past Friday. Deborah, April, and myself enjoyed serving our local heroes that served our country. Soon, Bev Hoops and myself will be putting together our 4th annual Touching Hearts. This is a time that our family sponsors come together to offer Heritage Lake families the opportunity to support an effort to touch the hearts of our neighbors in need during the holidays. A special thank you goes out to all the past sponsors that have made this possible. A huge thank you also goes out to Brian Church. He was the one that spearheaded the Run Into the Fall event this past September. Brian had $688 remaining left from his event and donated that amount to the Touching Hearts. So we're all off to a good start. Thank you, Brian. Finally, the final date is passed for submitting your interest in running for the 3 open positions for the Board of Directors. We have 4 people running and in alphabetical order. And when I call your name, if you please stand. Jeff Brooks, 223 Patriots Landing.
123, sir.
Pardon?
123.
123, thank you. Paul Forbes, 54 Jefferson Valley. Bill Goupel, 417 Jefferson Valley. And Tom Novak, 25 Mill Springs. Thank you for your interest in running for the board. That's it.
Thank you, Ken. Old business, old business A, childcare during board meetings. A few months ago, after one of the board meetings on my way home, I got a call from a member of our community, Carrie Boland, who had what I thought was a pretty decent idea. We're always looking for different ways to get members involved in attending these meetings, because there's a lot of things that are talked about, and people sometimes pay attention, sometimes they don't, but you can't hear anything if you're not here. You can watch it on YouTube, but that's not always interactive or helpful, so Gary had run an idea past me that I thought was pretty valid, a pretty decent idea, so asked her to come to the board and speak to it, and she's got some information, or we could talk about more exactly what you're looking to do, Carrie.
Carrie Boland, 216 Lincoln Hills. Honestly, there's just a lot of talk constantly about getting more people involved, getting more attendance at the meetings. My husband and I have little ones ourselves, and then most of the families that we associate with out here are in the same boat with having little kids. And when talking with them and just kind of asking why they're not more involved, some of it's work related, and then sometimes it comes back to the fact that they know that it's not really a kid-friendly place. And so honestly, I don't know if there's a need or demand for it. I can just speak for myself and the couple other people that I've talked to. I'm just willing to provide services. If there's a demand for it and we see there's a demand for it, I have absolutely no problem teaming up with a couple other moms and rotating and taking turns and allowing individuals to bring their kids and perhaps use the basement to bring little ones. I know Chris and I emailed back and forth because there would definitely have to be some boundaries with parameters on ages of kiddos, making sure that the basement's left in the same condition it came in. I've got items such as board games and things like that that could be brought in so that things are quiet and under control. I just think that it's maybe something we should explore.
Discussion, questions?
Has anybody looked into, the basement, for example, and its child-proofing? I mean, I know we have a kitchen in there. I guess that could be locked or closed off. But, things like, in my house, every electrical outlet has one of those protectors on it, in it, so I don't stick my finger in it.
Aren't you the one that puts the smoke alarms in?
Thank you for the plug.
No pun intended.
But, if we proceed to go ahead, whatever location we have it, I think, the area has to be scanned for child-proofing, and, I'm not sure exactly what all that means, but electrical outlets is one, cabinets is another, things like that. Also, I think that I don't know how friendly the tile floor would be downstairs in terms of.
It's easy to clean.
It's easy to clean, but I think it's kind of cold to roll on. I haven't tried it, but. So I think those are some considerations we should take into consideration. And as Carrie indicated, I don't know if she's got identified how many people. It sounds like maybe 3, 4.
3 for sure, where there's some interest. But then again, I haven't done any surveys, I haven't done any polls. I mean, I haven't, gone outside the scope of my personal circle of friends. I kind of feel, we've only been out here for 2 years, so I don't know near as many people as probably a lot of you do. I just know myself, I'm just someone who's willing to do that if there's a need for it. I've got 16 years child care experience. I ran my own licensed child care facility, so I'm familiar with rules and regulations. I know when Chris and I emailed, that's also one of the reasons that I put specific parameters. We're not talking infants, because depending on who it is that's care, you can only take care of so many children at a time. Being a parent myself, I don't know that I would want to just leave my infant with what could potentially be a stranger or someone that I don't know very well. Crawling and things like that, yeah, the basement's not conducive to that. But if you put some parameters on it, age 2 and up, or age 3 and up, again, there would need to be parameters as far as a sign in and a sign out process. for the kids to be accounted for, a limit on the number of children at any given time, which, again, there could be a process where people could quote-unquote RSVP if they wanted or needed that service. If there was a meeting where there wouldn't be any little ones, there would be no need for that service. But I guess just knowing that that's there and available if someone would need or want it, in my opinion, an extra 3 people at a meeting can make a big difference. It's baby steps.
Carrie, do you propose that one of the group that's participating in this service is going to be like alternating who is going to stay with the kids that time in the basement and then everybody else come to the meeting? Is that what your vision is?
That would be, yes, that would be the goal, is to have a group. I mean, you're talking meetings once a month. So if you had a group of even 3 or 4 individuals, that would still allow someone like myself to attend meetings and not always be the person in charge. Again, with it just kind of being in a brainstorming session right now, I don't mind being that person for a couple, for the first couple of times if that needed to be the case. But ultimately, the goal would be to get a group of individuals together so that it could be more of a rotation.
I think it sounds like a great idea, but the only, one thing I think about, and I don't like to think about that, is the liability part on POA. You know, if a kid falls and breaks something or cuts himself, or how liable are we, and who's responsible for
Would
that?
it be the same as if you went to the Santa thing?
Okay.
Wouldn't that be the same?
Well, I don't know. I
I don't know.
I don't know that. I think that's
I would
something.
think it would fall
We've got
in the same
insurance
amount of
coverage.
insurance.
I know we have insurance that covers that kind.
And you can also have a signing
Liability.
clause. when
Carrie,
they bring their kid in.
Carrie, you've done daycare or childcare before. Is that something that is standard? A liability waiver is enough, or do you have to carry additional insurance for that specific?
Well, when I owned and ran my businesses, we still had liability waivers.
Sure.
But then I also carried additional liability insurance under a child care policy. So by all means, you can have a parent sign a piece of paper
Yeah.
that says, will not hold individual responsible. I think that's only good so far, depending on, what the occurrence is or what type of person that may or may not be. Again, I think that's where you've got to have some real strict parameters. And again, I hate to do that to someone who might have an infant who really wants to come, but again, you cut down on the liability if you have those strict parameters of certain ages, certain number of kiddos that at one given time per adult. The qualifications of the person may come into play. I know, for example, my girlfriend, she's a registered nurse, more so, I'm not a registered nurse, but she's got that qualification where I don't. I think that would play into it as well. I think ultimately parents will decide whether or not they feel comfortable doing it, and if they're not comfortable with it, that's completely understandable. But for some of us who, again, you're not talking about leaving your kids miles away, you're talking, being very, very, being really close by. I think that's helpful. I know I did email Chris even about, when you sign your kiddo in, here's my cell phone number, so if I'm sitting in the meeting and something's going on, I can get a real quick text message, that I need to come downstairs to get my little one or check on my little one. Again, not to say that something can't happen in a matter of minutes, because it certainly can, but it is a very short period of time that we're talking.
I guess one thing, when Ken's speaking to these different insurance companies, maybe that's a topic that you could bring up or address with them, because it seems like we'd be offering a child care service. And I don't know if that would require some additional things. And then the other thing, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Carrie, but you need a champion, someone to run with it, someone to make those calls and to take the reservations of the children, etc. So that's one thing we'd have to determine who's gonna be the champion.
Any other discussion, questions?
Carrie,
I think it's a good idea.
are you interested in championing this? Because we don't know who's interested in assisting you with this. You know, probably some of the things we would have to do, I'm sure we'd probably need to do some kind of a background check on the individuals.
Seems like at this time, you might be able to put out an email to the neighborhood to see if there are people interested. And any way we can get younger people at the meetings. I mean,
Better.
yeah, we need young people involved in the community so that it stays there for years to come. I mean, the future is our path. And anything we can do for the future is the best thing for this community. And there's a lot of young people that live in this community that aren't involved because it's fun. It's a lake community, and they got kids, and everything's about fun, other than education. And we need those people on board to make sure that we continue to provide safe fun in the future. So I think it's a great idea. It just need, like you said, if the champion can maybe get together with somebody and put out an email to see how many people would like the idea.
I think that if you take it and run with it and just let us know what you need from us, we'll do everything we can to
Okay.
make it
Yeah, I
work
just
out.
didn't want to overstep my bounds, which is why I contacted Chris first, and I just said, you know, because again, we haven't been out here very long, so it's just one of those things, have you ever thought about, or has this ever been done? So, I mean, I have absolutely no problem, you know, asking around and kind of getting the ball rolling. Again, I just didn't want to overstep my bounds and try to get a ball rolling and then,
I think that's one of the first important steps is gauging how much interest there
Right.
is, to see if it's worth your while, worth our time, and,
Right.
you know, it's a lot of work gonna be, you know, trying to get this coordinated and put together, so if you wanna get that started, I know you're on Facebook, I don't know how many Facebook pages for the community, but I think that's probably a decent way to start, because a lot of the younger folks are on social media, so
sure.
you might get some hits on that, and then if you wanna check in occasionally and say, okay, I think we've got enough people to, you know, keep this moving, what are the next steps, so I think we can support that.
We got a lot of games and toys and stuff over at the activity center we can bring over, put it in a corner room and, you know, keep them busy doing it.
Excuse me.
Harold, do you have a question?
Harold Patel, 189 Mill Springs. We should consider age limits though.
Yeah, that's what Carrie was saying,
Yeah.
yeah, she's fully
And
on
we
board with
should
that, I think.
possibly utilize the door downstairs to prevent disruption of kids coming up and running through here.
Yep.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I think there's gonna have to be a list of rules and guidelines that we document,
I think it's
and
a
everybody
great
that's gonna participate in this service would need to have a copy of that and sign off on it, and, I mean, everybody, the board would have to approve it. So I think those are kind of the steps going forward. Like I said, first thing, let's figure out how much interest there is, I think. Come back to us at that point, and then we can talk about any other steps that we need to take.
Yeah, Carrie, would you have examples of how they set the age limit and so forth?
Yeah, I can pull up the email that I sent to Chris a couple months ago.
Yeah, put that in the highlights.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I did have, based on my own experience with kids, I did give her some boundaries that I thought were attainable and very much manageable.
Yeah, some things that, you know, along with the ages, you know, something that, you know, might tell us which way to go on some of the waivers that we want to put together.
Okay.
I know, I mean, just accepting the champion on it, we need to take a look at that and see
Sure.
where
And,
that's all at.
yeah, and I can pull up the email.
I've got some of those answers here.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I forwarded this to everybody on the board, but I guess I didn't. So the age restriction, again, this is just floating it out there until we really get some meat behind it, but a minimum of 2 years old. Again, that's not set in stone. And then as far as the number of kids, we would need maybe 5 to 6 volunteers. rotating a schedule to support one person being available per, I don't know how many kid-to-parent ratios we're looking at, but those are all the kinds of things. I think we would need to come up with a list of considerations and definition that we want to go forward with.
I think, Carrie, just to follow up what Harold said, if you could put together a small article for the highlights, it would be due, like the Monday of the last week of the month, or the Friday of the last week of the month, before that. And if you don't mind, to put your contact information in that little splash, and then Harold will put it in the highlights for you.
Okay.
If
Yes,
you
I
could,
can.
if you could get, and the address of the highlights, you could just email it to it. It's on the highlights, it's just hlhighlights@gmail.com.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Do we need to take a motion to keep this moving, or this isn't something we're probably
I don't think we do,
I
do
think
we?
we'll go ahead and do
Yeah.
some
Move on.
research, Carrie, and come back to us when you get something put together.
Okay.
You can send it directly to me if you'd like, CC Ken, and we'll make sure that whatever the next steps are, we'll support and keep it
Yeah,
going.
we could do the voting on it once we receive what.
Yeah, I think we don't have anything to really to vote on, other than to, hey, this is a good idea, go ahead and do research and bring it back, so.
Make her the champion.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, she had to be aware that we would be willing to support this going forward, at least figuring out where we're going with it.
Do you want to put it on the ops meeting for discussion for the next board meeting?
I don't know if we'll have any new
If Carrie's
information.
ready for it, I mean, that's.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, Carrie, if you can just let us know, and then we'll get it on the next meeting agenda, whether it's the ops meeting or the board meeting, depending on where we are. Okay. Sound good?
Yes.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
You're welcome.
the forward thinking and looking for ways to get more people involved. We're always open to that kind of stuff, and we can support it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. 2019 budget approval. This is up for second vote. This has already been discussed line by line in a separate session about a month ago now, I guess. We've had it up for first vote in the last board meeting in October. So unless there are any
I
problems.
make a motion
or
to
questions.
approve the 2019 budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Is there-
opposed?
Is there any discussion?
No.
I guess
Not
not.
on the budget, no.
We have a budget discussion meeting, and then we bring it to two.
If there's a discussion with the people,
The people will discuss
The
the
second-
budget when they make requests to do different things. That's the way it works.
the second vote is open for discussion on every issue that's voted on by the
I don't-
board. In case you wasn't aware of that.
Oh, I'm learning something new. Okay, well, let's.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Do you have, anybody have any
Have
questions?
a problem with,
I do.
okay.
Harold Patel, 189 Mill Springs, I haven't moved yet. I have a question on, is there any way of getting some actualities of previous years' numbers? Because they're all budget numbers. Is not the actual amount that was.
During our budget review, we had both last year's budget in
Previously,
front of
there
us as
was,
well as.
years in the past, there was an actual thing showing how close we came to the budget in 20.
Do you want me to, I can
17.
send that to you if you want me to.
Well, I'm just wondering, it's helpful, are we coming close to our budget from last year?
Oh, absolutely.
If you would call 100,000 over 1,600,000 being close, we're close.
Okay. And I'm just.
Yeah. I would call 100,000.
That's what's presented in the
Years in the
budget.
past, when I was on the board, that was part of the thing that we gave the people, so we knew how much money actually we spent, and not just a budget number that we anticipated spending.
Yeah, Ken has that, he can provide that to you. if-
Yeah, I mean,
for
it's
anybody
nice to
that
know.
wants it. Yeah,
I think. It's my money, I'm putting all this assessment money into the
sure.
field.
That can be sent to you when you request it, no problem.
Okay.
100,000, by the way, is positive. It's not net, we're not deficit spending.
Okay.
Right. And it's been like that for the last 3 or 4 years in a row. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, on these contracts.
Name and lot number, please.
Curtis Talbot, 309 Gettysburg. On these contract services, what are they all involved with? What's in the contract services?
Contract.
Let me get my budget out of it real quick. It's vending supplies, printing, office supplies, cleaning supplies, maintenance supplies, bait and fishing supplies, fuel oil, merchandise there at the marina. There's a miscellaneous line, there's a youth summer program, and materials.
Under contracts?
Contract services, yes, sir.
Or they sub it out.
No, I'm sorry. I went down the wrong line. It's accounting fees, legal fees, chemical and treatment, biological dredging, fish stocking, siltation expense, liability insurance, property insurance, security boat insurance, auto insurance, printing, building and ground repair, planning initiative. There's a line for emergency siren maintenance and miscellaneous contract services.
And how much of that's legal fees?
How much is? budget?
29.5 for 2019. We spent 13,289 for 2018. That's projected. We've actually haven't spent all that. We spent about 10,000 so far this year.
Now, that included all the costs for running the covenant changes? Everything he billed you for concerning the covenant changes last year?
Yes, sir.
13,000?
Well, that also includes people that don't choose not to pay their assessments. Anytime we have to contact the attorney, that's all under legal fees.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we have a second, we had a motion, we had a second to the motion. Second. All in favor of approving the budget? Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. New business A, electronic gate. I was supposed to have a speaker here today, but they had to back out earlier this afternoon, so we don't have anybody to present, but this is gonna remain on, they're gonna try to reschedule to get here for the next operations meeting, which is, I think, the 26th of this month. As you know, we already had Corson Fire and Security out here to talk to us about what they offered, what products and services they have. I expect this company to do something similar before we ask for price quotes for anything. We want to know what they're capable of delivering based on the needs that we have for our community, whether it's just card readers for doors and gates, whether it's something that we could help as far as managing our membership database, to make sure everything's up to date. The burn pile is an excellent example of an area that we really need to be able to more closely restrict to just members, and it's really difficult to do. We're not gonna have a guard standing out there waiting for someone to roll on up, and we can't continue to rely on the Brooks as to be our watchdogs over there and follow people in and out of the area, though we appreciate it, guys, but I'm sure you got other things you might wanna spend your time. Neighborhood stalkers over there. We appreciate that, thank you, but, so we're gonna try to get a couple other companies out here just to compare what's available. And we'll keep revisiting this until we have something, and hopefully we'll be able to get this moving and actually start delivering something on it.
One of the things I wanted to report that I was asked to get some pricing for electric. The first 300, there's about 348 feet from the road to where the gate would be. The first 300 feet is free, so we'd be paying 48 feet at $4 a foot for $192. Then there's about $81 for the base, and then the hardware for the H-stand that it will go on. So we're looking at probably less than $600 to get power out there.
Hey, can I ask a question on the camera? Is that camera up on the pole next to the firehouse?
Hmm.
It's a good camera if you get the license plates off the.
The camera's about that tall. It
Really?
don't look like it from the,
Yeah.
when I picked up the
And
box, I
then you
was
can read
surprised.
license plates for people dumping?
Yeah, well, if it's got a clear view of it, they say.
Yeah.
that it can.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, that's encouraging if it's only.
I keep
about-
waving at it.
With your hand or just one finger, or?
I'm selective.
It was about a
Depends on the day.
It was about a
Depends on the
$300
camera.
camera.
I got your license.
Universal sign.
So I think $600 estimate for the power alone is pretty decent.
Mhm.
You can't get an electrician in the house to do some work for a lot less than that.
Oh,
so-
just call me, I'll come over.
That's a good deal. So, all right, that's an encouraging first step, because that's something that we were interested in trying to figure out as part of the overall cost. So, like I said, we'll try to get EAS out here, talk to us about what they can do. And if not, we'll go back to Corson and have them give us some numbers and see what we want to do first. New business B, dock repair, marina at Jefferson Pond. Again,
Okay, this was brought up at the ops meeting to replace the marina dock and the Jefferson dock. I requested to spend about $6,488 in material to replace the boards on those two docks. I know that everybody pretty much agreed to it, but I waited until this week to purchase the material. I haven't purchased it yet, but Menards has got 11% rebate, so that'll be pretty substantial for us for a kickback on that. So
okay,
we have about $5,500 remaining in ground repair and $7,100 in miscellaneous repair budget. So it would come from that.
okay. At the last operations meeting, we had a brief discussion on this, at which time we decided to bring it to this board meeting and bring it up for vote unless anybody has anything else you want to discuss on it before we take a motion for a single vote. Meaning we don't have to come back to the board for a second vote if we choose to go forward with it, in the interest of time and weather, and trying to get this done as expeditiously as possible.
Yeah, now's a good time to do it for the water.
So, is there any discussion? You guys have any questions?
I make a motion, we approve, Ken, to go ahead with the dock repair with a ceiling of what, $6,400? And you said there's rebates possible, so if we hold the ceiling at $6,400, is that okay?
65.
65, okay.
We won't get the rebate until afterwards.
I make the motion for $6,500 to be allocated for the dock
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
repair. Aye.
All opposed? So moved. Campground rules. Ron,
As you recall, before we start, I'd like to thank the board for the flowers that were sent to my brother, wish it best. Thank you all for it. It's very nice. Thank you. If you recall, at the last meeting, we had presented some changes to the lease, the storage lease at the campground, and also some changes in the verbiage for the campground itself. We passed out everything we thought that was needed. It was taken at the point that we would like to one vote move this forward. We've cleared it with the staff and with the campground committee, so that the staff can move forward and get it printed, get it into the rules. And we'd ask for a one-time vote. Is there any questions that I could put forth?
any discussion, guys? If not, I'll take a motion.
It's your motion, Ron.
Sorry?
Make your motion.
That's my motion. I'd make a motion to accept as printed out. So let's move it forward.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. This takes us to the open forum portion of the meeting. Yep, well, hang on, it's not open forum yet. Did you have something on the campground, Matt? Okay, you're first in line. So I ask that you raise your hand until you're called on. State your name and your lot number. Please be respectful. You don't want any screaming and shouting. Ask your question, you'll have a reasonable amount of time, and then we'll move on. Ben?
Ben Fuchs, 77 Gettysburg. I don't know if Ken is aware that Menards, the 11% rebate is in the form of,
I'm aware.
you have to spend that 11% there.
I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
We've done that for several years. That's how we purchase our tools and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ben.
I get my discount at Lowe's and it's 10%, but they take off of the price. So.
Yeah, no, that does work out pretty good if, once you start, you know, when the bill mounts up, so it's 11%.
Yeah, whenever we need tools and stuff like that, we usually pull that rebate money and purchase it there, so.
Yes, sir.
Shannon Lee, 2 Lincoln Hills. I didn't know, Paul, if you've been able to address the board to the questions that came up in our last meeting.
No, because of what had happened in the last few weeks, we ran out of time with what is going to be brought up to the board. So the next ops meeting, actually, we're going to start tonight, the executive meeting after this board meeting, to bring up that A&E committee rules change possible.
Or additions.
Yeah, and it just, with the death of Charlie Beard and with some transitions for the board members, we ran out of time.
Okay.
But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to,
Sometimes I get lost, and I've got it in my notes, I'm ready to go.
yeah, I was gonna say that, you know, some people say it takes an idiot to, or a village to raise an idiot, so I can be the idiot.
Well, I'll tell you, I've enjoyed your participation in the A&E committee, glad to have it.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
And I have one other question.
Sure.
No, okay, and that is, White Oak Construction has been out here in the past, and they were out here last week, and Ken escorted them away from the lake. But on our sign, it says, no soliciting, violators will be prosecuted. Are you really gonna do that? If you're not gonna prosecute, you shouldn't have that on the sign, in my opinion, that's just my opinion.
You have to trespass them first. And then if they don't leave, then they become trespassing, then you can prosecute them.
Okay, so if they repeatedly come back, it's harassment.
Well,
I mean, they returned that same day, so.
that same day?
They,
It was
you
towards
escorted them
the-
out 136. I saw them at Pizza Den after that, and they looked like they were ready to leave.
Well, that's not POA.
And that's on POA property,
Right.
right?
I mean, I've made it very clear because one of them tested me a little bit. That kind of got me a little upset, but, I guess, you know, let me use this as an example. They're White Oak, okay?
Right.
I can tell you to leave and trespass you from Heritage Lake for soliciting. But if you come back if they come back in 6 months, you know, I don't know that unless maybe, Brian, you maybe help me with this, unless I notify dispatch and let them know that this individual has been trespassed, it's kind of hard to determine if they were trespassed 6 months from 6 months ago. So unless you ID them trespass them every time. Most of the time, whenever I've run them out of here, I usually don't have a problem with them coming back. But
What do you say is trespassing? Driving down a county road?
going door to door.
Door to door.
And I think
Okay.
when people see that, everybody in the community kind of jumps on that really quick and calls the office, and I think the office can react really quickly when they're able
Ken did a
to.
good job.
So I think we make it hard for them to really get much momentum. I know there's spurts where it seems to happen a lot, and then it kind of dies off for a while, so winter's coming, it'll slow down.
Okay.
I think it's
You know,
kind of a
just-
sporadic thing, but I think the office and the staff can do a really good job on keeping on top of that. So just continue to call when you see that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
Phil McGinley, 330 Patriots Landing. If we have that camera that you were describing there, do we also have signs labeling that that area is monitored 24/7 by video surveillance? And if not, maybe we should do that as an additional and disincentive for people to come there that don't belong there.
Well, no, we haven't, I mean, we just literally put it up, and to get signs made like that, we can't have done overnight. But this individual that Jeff had ran off, he sent me a picture of the vehicle, of his truck that he was in. Lo and behold, I stopped in to go to lunch at my house, and across the street, about 3 doors down, was that truck. And he had another big heaping load. So I just introduced myself and asked him where he was going with it. And I could tell by his response, or his lack of response, he was going to the... So I gave him another place to take it, and, no, seriously, no. I did find out that Bainbridge has an open location just like that, I just told him he's from Brazil. I just told him that he needs to factor that in his charges, and not free dump it here. So he was heading to Bainbridge when I had left, but he was quite aware of, when I questioned him, he was quite aware of that sign that's mounted out there. He had read it.
Yeah.
So.
But my suggestion would be if it actually states that it's video surveillance, that might dissuade some people who otherwise think they could get away with it.
Yeah.
I've got it.
I know soliciting signs
Menard
all the time.
has good camera signs, Menard has good camera signs, so we'll get there.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Phil. Linda?
Linda Lawler, Heritage Lake, Patriots Landing 45. I'm also the president of the Heritage Lake Garden Club. I'm here representing them this evening with 2 items. We are raising funds to put together enough money to purchase a swing that could be used, or a glider, if you want to call it that, with wheelchairs or with folks who are reasonably unsteady on their feet, where they could sit near the swing set and enjoy their grands or their great-grands swinging and not get hurt. It isn't going to take garden girls. We don't make a whole lot of money.
What's the cost of the?
Ken's looking for that
Okay.
for us. But in the meantime, we girls have gotten busy, and we wanted to share with you some things that we are doing. One of our members, Connie Mitchner, lost her husband this year. She was looking for a way and a place to feel needed again.
Stand out here so we can see it on the.
Right in the middle, turn it towards the camera.
Oh, I don't like being on camera.
There you go, now you're not on camera anymore.
Now you're hooked, now you're gonna get
Nice
a lot
job,
calls.
Vanna.
That's nice.
If I go home and tell my husband you called me Vanna, you're in trouble. Connie hand-painted with fabric paint
Wow.
each of the flowers,
Beautiful.
hand quilted this.
Wow.
We are guessing over 300 hours in her work. We are going to photograph it and put it on eBay and take bids on this.
Good for you.
We have this awesome confession by Connie that coming to the garden club and being with us actually helped her pull her life together after losing her 62-year married husband. This is one of the good things about Heritage Lake.
Yeah.
Don't trash Heritage Lake.
Thank you.
The other thing, oh, you can tell I'm a preacher and I'm still at it, is I taught the ladies how to make wreaths out of live evergreen. And we are selling them 40% of what we charge for the wreaths will go to this same project. Thank God the ladies decided we would hire the wreaths themselves to be made for us, and we're going to decorate them custom for your homes. We have 14 we have not yet sold that I've ordered on faith that people will step forward and help us finish out the order. And I have at least 4 of my garden club girls with me. Our ages run from 16 to 91. Now you know why somebody else is going to make the wreath, because it's tough to do. I have the order forms with us tonight. If you will help us help look at some of the senior citizen needs or the disabled needs. My third thing is my husband and I have 9 puppies that are bred for service dogs.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
If you are aware of someone who could use a service dog, we need to know about them so that we can match them up. I even have places that I can send you to get them trained. This is our retirement ministry, being retired pastors.
What kind of dog?
They're golden retriever and poodle. And they, Marianne has seen them, Darcy and Chris have seen them. 2 are named after Darcy and Chris, and they're always in trouble. Please match us up with people who have the need. We want them to go for service dogs first, if at all possible. Otherwise, we'll sell them as family dogs. But one is a service dog for me, and she's the mama. And several of you have seen her and know she's just awesome, and at 2 years old is wonderful. That, if you need one, we need to know. Okay?
Good.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The wreaths are 22 and 24 inches. This is a sample of the frame. They all come on a 12-inch frame, but they're 22 and 24 inches. And we have all sorts of colors and choices and patterns in ribbon, solid, or a pattern. And here's the order form.
Put me down for one.
Thank you, Cam. Which size, 30 or the $35 one? $30 is the 22, 35 is...
35.
Yeah, one of each.
Is $2?
Do you need more greens? I got a lot of trimming on it.
Yes, we will need more greens.
Okay.
Yes, particularly the juniper and Ken, we are going to trim the holly bushes at the activity center. Garden Club takes care of it, and we're going to use that in them too.
Okay.
You can trim some of Ken's trees.
I don't have a chainsaw.
That guy from Brazil might have some.
Oh, please.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Everybody make sure you stop by and give Linda your order on your way out. Anyone else?
Curtis Talbot, 309 Gettysburg. I would like to know why the board will not let me run for board. I explained to these people, and I'd like to see put in the minutes as to why you rejected my right.
Curtis, you didn't comply with the board criteria for board members. Article 7, Sections 1B and 2B of the bylaws clearly state that no member previously removed from the board for due cause is allowed to run for 6 years from that point of removal. That's the reason.
Explain to the people why you removed me for due cause.
For due cause, for violation of board rules.
And what were those rules?
Curtis, I don't have the number here, but it was clearly stated when, at the point of removal.
It was never clearly stated to me.
Yes, it was.
Jim Johnson never sent me that letter he said he would send. You people basically put me off the board because I disagreed with your covenant change.
That's not true, Curtis.
Yes, it is absolutely true.
No, it is not true.
I can
Curtis.
prove it. You want me to prove it to you people?
Not in this meeting, you're not proving anything. Do you have anything else?
No, there's no reason to.
Do you have
because
anything
will
else?
listen.
You're not allowed to run because of Article 7.
And when
Sections
did you
1,
change
2,
that
2.
article? After you threw me off the board, 2 or 3 months later, so that I couldn't run again. That's precisely why you made that rule.
Curtis, that rule was enacted.
That's why they made the
Do you
rule. After you threw
want me
off
to
the board.
respond to you or not?
Sure, go ahead.
That rule was officially put in the bylaws after you were attempting to run last year for the board. We, out of respect for you, did not file that petition to block you from running last year. We filed it after the board elections were over, which you didn't get enough votes, so you weren't on the board anyway. At that point, we filed it with the attorney, Putnam County, and that's it.
And why are you afraid of my running?
No one's afraid of you, Curtis. Do you have
Yes,
anything
you
else?
are.
Curtis, is there anything else?
When I voted against
You
the
have no
peace-
idea what I think of you.
Oh, I have a pretty good idea. But I don't care what you think about me personally, all right? When I objected to those covenant changes, I voted against them. My vote was not counted as a
Curtis,
second
this
board
has
member.
nothing to do with covenant
Yes,
changes.
it does, because it
Please
is
sit
why
down,
I-
Curtis, you've had
it
your
is
turn.
exactly why.
Curtis, you've had your turn, please sit down.
No, I have a right to explain myself. You throw me out for telling people to write? Do I not have a right?
Clerk, just told you to be quiet.
You have expressed your opinion. The president of our board has said it's over. Please sit down.
I think I'll just leave it.
Fine. You are
And
welcome
look,
to
lady,
leave.
I don't know who you think you are, but it's not your.
I'm a resident here as well as you.
Yes, and you have
And
your
we have
opinion as
heard-
well as I do.
And we have heard how disruptive you can choose to be, and we're giving you permission not to be disruptive.
Well, you guys don't want to know the truth?
Does anybody else have anything?
Ignorance is bliss until it kills you.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah.
Harold,
Why do we have to put up with that kind of?
he's a member in good standing, he's allowed to attend all
He
the
is
meetings.
not a member in good standing when you go and do things like that at a board meeting that, you take a vote here, how many people will go along with this kind of disruption?
If you go into the,
I don't think there's anyone.
If you go into the bylaws, you read through the bylaws and you can find a way to handle that. You can find a way to handle members and you can find a way to handle board members.
Yeah.
There are ways to do it.
Yep.
Now, if you, as a community, decide to get rid of a board member, and I pointed to them, not me. So if you decide to get rid of a board member, there are ways to do that.
Sure.
And there are ways to get rid of a member out of
The POA.
the POA as far as coming to the meetings and things like that.
Yep.
Just read about that and you can find a way to do that. I'd just like to say one thing because the camera's rolling, and that is, one of the rules for board members, and I don't think it's different of any board I've ever been on. That is, once the board votes, the board members have taken a creed to support what the board supported by the vote. The reason Curtis was asked to be off the board was because after a vote was taken, he went out in the community and tried to get people in the community to do something different than what the board voted on, and he was a board member.
Yep.
Therefore, the board decided to eliminate him from the board. And that's what happened. And as Chris suggested, the board was nice enough, I think, and polite enough to not put this rule into effect until Curtis had a chance to run for the board again. He did not get approved, he did not get voted in. And then this went into effect right after that. We checked with the attorneys, because we didn't want, we wanted to do things fair. We wanted to do things right. And that's what happened, so.
Thank
That's,
you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
that's the clarification.
Anybody else? Jeff? You already had two.
Concerning the cameras, have you talked with, and you being Ken, have you talked with anybody at the Conservancy District, with all the lift stations around? Plenty of places to put cameras, and I'm not talking just for the burn pit, just around Heritage Drive, just for general surveillance, just cameras mounted at the lift stations. There's already electricity there. They might even be able to tie it into their SCADA systems they have, or just have its own Wi-Fi, something like that. Just something to improve the security around here. And that wouldn't need, I wouldn't think, a real high dollar camera.
No, but it's a great idea. We'd obviously have to be mounted up high, so we'd be messed with.
Was the neighborhood watch looking into that? Is that what they were talking about?
I
with the
think they were
cameras?
more talking about security cameras
In the building.
in the
Right
building.
next to
Oh,
the
okay.
building doors,
Okay.
yeah.
Really have
Nothing high
nothing.
power,
Inside,
high
okay.
distance.
And maybe an alarm system or something like that.
Yes?
Shannon Lee, 2 Lincoln Hills. Since that is Conservancy, I don't think the board can do anything but ask them if they would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't even be part of the bill. It wouldn't be part of our cost.
Well, we're freeholders of the Conservancy, it comes out of our
But
pocket.
that, yeah, it's like,
I don't see them,
Yeah, I guess I-
they
I
would
don't
be
see that
more
there'd be an
than,
objection.
They're pretty good partners with us, I think.
Yeah. It's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think they would say no.
All right, anybody else?
There's a last issue.
Last one, Harold.
I publish the highlights, and on the front page, I've gotten criticism for putting down inaccurate numbers. What is the lake level gonna be at? 6.5 feet, 4.5 feet, 2 feet, 10 feet. I've got people calling me and saying, where are you getting these numbers from? I go to Clear Creek Conservancy, it says right on their website, 6.5 feet, today. I just published the highlights out there, because I measured 4.5 feet. And I was told that it's not gonna change according to the Conservancy from where it's at 4.5 feet. And I got contractors telling me they had some dock work to do, and it's underwater now. So
I think what they need to do is, it's under the control of the Conservancy. So I think they need to attend the meeting of the Conservancy. There's one coming up this Thursday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
at the Conservancy. I would just tell your contractors or whomever else might be questioning what you're stating, that it's a decision of the Conservancy, and they're certainly welcome to attend any of those meetings. That's what I would suggest.
I think if it's a big enough project, and I think if someone out there approaches somebody in the Conservancy, they can pull a gate. I mean,
Well, they won't. I talked to the Conservancy, and they were told that it stays at 4.5 feet.
okay. Well,
Except the Conservancy is not represented here
Usually is. I
Huh?
think Dwayne is out of town.
about 99% of the time.
He usually is here, but, yeah,
tonight.
that's,
I just,
it's within the Conservancy's control.
it's,
so-
I mean, might be one of the many that can't do dock work because of additional 2 feet of water in the lake.
My neighbor's one too, so.
But I'm also concerned about boating come May
Not
first,
coming back quick enough.
and having enough water out there to put a boat in.
I think that was the theory behind the 4 feet.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you.
It doesn't take long to refill. I mean, I've seen it, ours be totally empty, and even in 2 months, in a month, it could be all the way up.
But if it doesn't be
Less than
weird kind
Yeah,
of
but you
weather,
can open it.
then we're in trouble.
It's Indiana, we're gonna have weird kind of weather anyways.
Yeah.
Anybody else before we call it?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Stay here.
Executive session, please.
Oh, yeah, even that, no, they like some of that, but not the whole thing. going to be around again. Are there any other board members before we go into executive session? No stranger to that.
Oh, let's see.